everyone, welcome back. My name is Lynn Wilson and welcome to my home. This is a new series at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. It's in reference to disabilities, living with a disability, whether you have the disability or you are the spouse or taking care of a loved one and you're the caregiver of someone with a disability. So let's just jump right into this. This week we're going to be talking about loneliness, and I think it's the perfect time of the year. It's the holiday season, as you can see with my tree behind me. And loneliness is something that I think is probably one of the top 10 side effects of having a disability. So I'm going to just share my experience with you, which is what I did last week. If you did not catch last week's video, The Raw Truth About a Disability, you might want to go check that out. I'll leave that in a link in the description below. But loneliness is something that, you hear it all the time. You can be lonely in a crowd. I remember when I was little, my grandmother telling me that. I thought, how could you be lonely in a crowd? As a kid, it didn't make sense. You have all these people, of course. You can't be lonely. When you have a disability, you are lonely in a crowd. When you are the caregiver of someone with a disability, you are lonely in a crowd. So I'm going to kind of go back and forth between the two, the caregiver and the one with the disability. So as a caregiver, I find I sometimes will refer to myself as a single wife. Many of you know what a single mom is or a single dad. They are a parent without a spouse, and you're raising the kids and taking care of the kids on your own. It's difficult. You're working, you're trying to make ends meet, and you're running the kids to soccer, and you're trying to do all the birthday parties and all the activities and all the youth activities and all the things as a single parent. Well, take that to a different level of being a single spouse. I always say to my husband, I feel like I'm a single wife. How many events have I had to go to where my husband could not attend? Or he maybe was physically there, but not mentally there. How many times have I had to take care of the kids and run the kids and do all the things for the kids without my husband as my partner? Now, when we get married, most of us get married thinking that we will get married, share the responsibilities in the home, share the responsibilities of both working and having a paycheck, and share the responsibilities of raising the children. And then when all of a sudden those things are out of sync, it makes it very difficult. And it's one thing if you say, well, you're out of work, so it's temporary. Or maybe you broke your foot, so it's temporary. But when this is a lifelong transition and change in your life where that person will no longer be available to help on a regular and consistent basis, it does change up how you live your life. I can tell you, as a wife and a caregiver of someone with a disability, I find it is lonely and it's overwhelming because a lot of times I'll go somewhere and I am married, but my spouse is not there all the time. And I've said to Graham, there are days that he's right on target, he's crisp, he's sharp, he's good, he's the man. And there's other days where he's just not. He just can't do it. He just can't help himself. But from my perspective, from the caregiver's perspective, it is very lonely. You go to an event with a bunch of couples, but your partner can't participate. So that puts you in an awkward spot, and people start to act weird around you. And now you can leave a comment below if you've been in this situation. People don't know how to sort through and handle disabilities. I get it. I remembered when I was in school and we would have other kids from school that have disabilities of many kinds, and they would come in the classroom and they might look different and they might make sounds and noises and grunts and groans, and they might squeal as they talk, and they didn't have what I would consider a normal conversation, and they might slur their speech, they might be drooling, they might be spitting when they're talking. And these are the raw facts of a disability. These are things that cannot be controlled. This is just who they are and what they do. But as a child, I was very frightened of that. I didn't understand why are they different? Why are they weird? Why do they not fit in? Why are they not like me? And I didn't know how to handle that. And I think that's what happens a lot of times when people are surrounded by someone with a disability, they don't know how to react. For me, I find it very lonely because I do things a lot on my own. I'm a very independent woman. I enjoy doing things on my own, no doubt. You can ask my husband for sure. I love my career. I love having a career. I love going out with the girls. I love being an independent woman. But I got married because I liked the companionship. I fell in love with my husband. And I wanted to have a marriage with us together as partners. And I'm not saying we don't ever, but if you're a caregiver of someone, you can understand that there are times where it is very lonely. The other part of it is lonely because not only do they not always, can they participate and be with you, and disabilities, the list goes, it's endless. I'm speaking from my experience. I don't know what your experience is. I don't know what your situation is and the disability, but I think this is a general topic and a general feeling across the board of anyone, caregivers for someone with a disability. You're going to feel the same way. The other side of that too is people don't know how to react to you, so people don't invite you out as much. I might get invited out, but then when there's a couples gathering, maybe they won't invite us. Or if we've gone somewhere, which happens a lot of times, we'll sit at the table or we'll sit somewhere and you notice everybody else is over there talking, but no one comes to talk to you because some of them are awkward. They honestly just I don't know what to say. I don't know what questions to ask. I don't know how to. And if my husband at the time is not well and he's really struggling, then they're even more awkward. So it makes it for another lonely moment in your life. The other thing is too, people don't understand. People don't know what you go through. I am so tired of people saying, oh, I understand. I know exactly what you mean. And I get tired of saying, no, you don't. You don't understand. I started a Facebook group a number of years ago. It was before COVID, probably about 4 years before COVID, really hit 2020. And it was called Wings. And it was based on the Bible verse, I believe, I honestly forget. I think it was in Psalms where it says we are covered under his wing. But it was Wings, and it was a Facebook group online for women who had a husband with a disability. And it started from my own loneliness. I was lonely, and I didn't have any other wife to relate to say, do you understand? And sometimes there's no words. You can't explain it. It's not like you can say, well, what's hurting you? Well, it's different. And if you're watching this and you are a spouse of someone with a disability, I want you to know I understand. You're not alone. And that was why I started this group called Wings. And it started with me just kind of looking for other women that were in the same situation as me, that I could maybe pair up with as a friend online, chat, just compare notes. I did not want it to be a bashing situation. Well, my spouse, it was none of that. It was just to say I understand and to find friendship in that. Well, it turned out there was a whole bunch of us locally. I'm guessing about, 8 to 9 women that were fairly local in my area, and we ended up having a once a month meeting either at my house or in a restaurant, and we would have dinner, and we would come and just fellowship together and kind of form this network and look out for each other. And we would start a group text and checking in on everyone. Who's doing what today? How can we be praying for you? What's happening? And it was really nice because people could jump in here and say, hey, I'm really struggling with. We had someone whose husband had cancer. My husband has epilepsy. I'm trying to remember. We had somebody else's husband who had Alzheimer's. We had someone else whose husband had, it was some type of wasn't Crohn's disease, but it was something like that. And it was very debilitating for him. I can't even remember. It's been a couple of years now since we've all gotten together. But we had a very invested group of women that wanted to come together and support each other. And it was wonderful. We talked, we had dinner, and sometimes we got together and we didn't talk, or maybe one or two of us talked. And the rest of us needed to sit quietly because it was a rough day, a rough week, a rough month. But you still needed that fellowship. So that's the type of group that I started. And then once 2020 came, everything, the world came to a halt. We then had to stop because we didn't know what was happening. 2021 came. One of the husbands had passed away. Another woman had moved. And it just sort of fell apart. I would love to start it again. I think it would be important. But right now, I just have a lot on my plate to start another group or another event that I needed to be part of. Looking at it from my husband's point of view, now, I am not my husband, obviously. But I have, we've talked enough, and I will have him join us at some point. But I remembered a long time ago, we were at an event, and it was a church event. I hate to admit that. And the girls were over here and the guys were over there, and it was very evident that the guys weren't willing to talk to my husband. They're all sports minded. They're talking about planning a golfing outing. They wanted to get together. They wanted to do things and so on and so forth. And they were all talking, but nobody included my husband. Long story short, we came home that night. My husband said, I couldn't care less about golf. He's not into sports. He never was. I don't think the epilepsy has anything to do with it. It's just not who he is. But he said, I would love to have just been included. Needless to say, the guys went away. They went away for a weekend, and they all went and played golf, and they did their thing. And they all came back the next week, and they're all talking about it, all excited. My husband was left out. My husband gets left out a lot. We have other acquaintances and other people we're involved with, and you'll hear all those husbands got together, but they never asked my husband to be part of it. Even if it's going to the movies. And again, I understand from when I was a kid and I was surrounded by people with disabilities, how awkward it is. I think a lot of these guys just don't know what to do. What do I do if he has a seizure? How do I take care of him? What? And they're awkward and they don't know what to say or do. How do you fix this? How do you find a solution in this? How do you make this okay? I don't have any answers. I don't have any perfect answers. I think each situation is unique, and I think each individual is unique, and each disability is unique. My husband, I'll be doing a video coming up soon on the invisible disability. Now, if I sat here right now with a sling, or my face was, distorted, or you could physically see something on me, you would say, oh, are you okay? How can I help you? But when you have somebody that, oh, you look great. They don't see past the you look great. In 5 minutes from now, that disability could kick in and you could have a moment, and it might be a very awkward moment. One of the things I've always said to myself, and I think a lot of it has to do with things of growing up when I was put in a situation of uncomfortableness, let's just say. I was a survivor. I was always one to want to survive. Not everybody has that personality. And I think I'm a fighter, and I want justice, whether it's for myself or it's for others. So when I was lonely, I started a group. I figured I'm not waiting for other people. I'm not waiting for you to come to me and say, hey, Lynn, I see you're a caregiver to your husband. Are you lonely? Would you like to join our group? I'd like to take you out to dinner and just give you a night out and treat you and make you feel special. I am not waiting, nor was I waiting for that. I decided a long time ago, if I need something or I want something, I take the bull by the horns. We checked into support groups. There were none in our area. There was one in our area. We went once or twice, and all they did was whine and complain about their disability. One of the best lessons in life I've learned from my husband is don't give up. I told you our Thanksgiving story last week. I had so many people tell me that I have a lot of local people that watched that video and said, if that was me, I could never have gotten up off the floor and did my Thanksgiving. You don't know my husband then very well, because my husband, as soon as he could get up off the floor, was like, you ready? Let's go do Thanksgiving. Graham doesn't give up. He's a fighter, and he wants to live the best life he can in spite of. And I say kudos to that. I was lonely as a caregiver. I started a group to find other people that were like-minded, that could come alongside of me and I could come alongside of them, and we can understand each other. I don't know if that's something that you want to do. I don't know. You can start an online group. You can get people together. If you know of another couple, another person that you want to just invite over and get to know them and start a group, I don't know. That's how we did it. Now, that lasted for a number of years, and it was fantastic. And like I said, 2020 came, nobody did anything. 2021 came, we were kind of regrouping. 2022 came, and for us, the Wilson household is like zzz, 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 I guess is the best way to say it, with the amount of activity and things that we are doing. We don't have time to add another thing on our plate. Does that mean I'm not lonely? There are times. Does it mean my husband's not lonely? There are times. But we have filled the gaps with some other things. Here's some of the things I would tell you to close this out. If you're lonely, don't sit there in the loneliness. Do something about it. Pick up the phone and call someone. Text someone. Email someone. Go talk to someone. If it's so bad that you need to see a counselor of some type or some type of support, make sure you do that. If you need to reach out to your pastor or your church or something like that, do that. For Graham, he has epilepsy, so we can go to the Epilepsy Foundation of New Jersey. They are not the best. I'll tell you one thing, I would love to work for the Epilepsy Foundation of New Jersey and shake them up a little bit, because I know how many times we've called for information. Oh, they'll call you back and they never do, or they are not much help. I don't know where your state is, what support systems you have. Go to your doctor and say, I need support. Look in the yellow pages. Just get yourself, you got to do some homework. You got to do legwork. No one is going to come to you. Very rarely does that happen. And I don't mean that as a woe is me. It's just a fact. The fact is, no one is going to go and pick up the phone and call you. No one is going to come over to your house and take you out to dinner. No one is going to come and say to you, are you lonely? How can I help you? You've got to make life happen. And you've got to go after what it is that you need, and you need to do your own research. And don't give up. Now, I'm not saying, and I have so many people in my life that, they'll ask for advice, you give them advice, and they try one thing and they go, see, it didn't work. That's not the attitude. You just don't give up. You might spend a number of months, weeks, even years trying to develop support groups and friendships and so on. One thing my dad always said, anything worth having takes a long time to get there. And he's absolutely right. When you have a relationship with someone, it didn't happen overnight. You had to build that relationship. If you want a good support group, you're going to have to build that surrounding all those things that, all those ingredients that make up that support group. I'm not telling you I have the answers, but I am telling you I understand. What I hope to do is to trigger interest in you. I hope to trigger hope in you. I hope to trigger a sense of, I can do this. You know what? I can live the life that I have. People said to me many, many times, I'm married 35 years, and I've heard it for 35 years. Did you know he had epilepsy when you married him? Duh, people, what are you saying to me? Do I dump him because, well, I didn't know and now he does, so people are so stupid, if I can say that. We don't like to use the word stupid in our home, but I'll tell you, that's stupidity to the utmost. When I met my husband, my sister-in-law had said to me, my brother has epilepsy. Okay, I didn't really know what it was. I had heard about it. I wasn't surrounded by anybody with it. As we dated, he had seizures, and I'm waited and, you okay? Are you done? Like, can we go? And I just treated it, I don't know if, well, for me, I know we were meant to be together. So I just think the Lord gave me a different, maybe understanding, a different stamina. I don't know what, but, you know, I remembered I'd be like, you done? Like, can we go, you know, get in the car? And there are times after 35 years, I'm a little bit more fragile emotionally because I've dealt with it for a long time. But did I know my husband had epilepsy when I married him? The answer is yes. But you know what? My husband his name is Graham, and he has epilepsy. And that is part of his package, which I'll talk about on another video on how we have presented this to our kids. But my husband's package is he had auburn hair, and he was 6 foot, and he was born and raised in Africa, and he was a printer before he came to this country, and he was a phlebotomist over the number of years that he was in this country. Oh yeah, and he had epilepsy too. And my husband's a sketcher, and my husband doesn't like sports. My husband does love my cooking, and my husband loves life, and my husband loves the Lord, and my husband loves to teach Bible lessons, and oh yeah, my husband has epilepsy. You just take that whole personality of who my husband is, and part of who he is he's an epileptic. It has made him the man he is. It has made me the wife I am, and it's made us the family we are. And I say that with pride. We as a family, I always tell people we're the Wilsons, and we walk alike and we talk alike. And in church, we serve as a family. And we've raised our kids in this, that we are the Wilsons. We take care of our own. We stick together and we fight. And we will fight for the best life that we can live in this Wilson household. And that includes all of us. You know, the shoe could be on the other foot, and it could be me with the epilepsy or the disability. Would I want my husband to walk on me? No. I married my husband for the man he was and the man he currently is. And yes, that did include his disability. I talked last week about separating the disability from the person. I fell in love with the person. That disability is part of who he is. But sometimes we also have to make sure we separate it, so when the disability takes over and the disability is on the forefront and the disability is happening and the disability is ruining the moment, the disability is making a lonely moment, the disability is ruining the holiday, the disability is causing you to be late, the disability is causing you to cancel. The disability is what it is. It can't be controlled. And we, as the caregivers, need to adapt to that. I do get mad at my husband. Did you take your pills? Or he forgot? Did he eat on time? Did he get enough sleep? All the things that for him, he knows are the right things to do, and he didn't do them. That's when I get frustrated because of like how much I go through, and like you're not doing what you should be doing, that you know that you should be doing, and that's a frustration on my part. What do I do with that? I then have to remind him, maybe it's not a day where he's crisp and sharp. Did you take your pills? And so on and so forth. But you know what, again, the shoe on the other foot, I don't have the disability, but how many times have I caused us to be late because my time management was poor? How many times have I ruined the moment because I was in a mood? How many times have I ruined a holiday because I was just in a snit? You know, we all have issues, whether it's a disability or it's a personality quirk. We all bring something to the table. And as a couple and a husband and wife, we made a vow to each other, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. And you know what? That vow is so important to remember. It is what it is. And you know what? There's life to live. And if I can bring you hope today, I want to tell you this. There is a good life out there. There's a good life to live. Put aside the disability. Put aside the stuff you hear on the news. Put aside the garbage that people tell you. and find what it is that you and that person that you're giving the care to want to enjoy in life. The biggest joy might be going out and getting a vanilla ice cream cone. For us, it's going to Dairy Queen and I get a peanut butter parfait. That's like, wow, some nights that's a big deal. And take joy in the little things in life. You don't need extravagant wows all the time, but take joy in that vanilla ice cream cone, or reading a book together, or going for a walk, or just sitting out on your porch and enjoying the cool breeze with a lemonade. Enjoy those special moments with each other. Build on that. But the hope is in the fact that you can still enjoy life in spite of the disability, in spite of the disappointments, in spite of the loneliness. Can you fix the loneliness? To a point. But I think there is always going to be an aspect of that. And in the same thing as anything else, I've had to learn how to adapt in that loneliness. I admit it. I'm lonely. I'm in it. I can't change it right now. There's nothing I can really do. But what is something that I can do that brings me joy and maybe can lift my spirits a little bit to kind of bring me out of that loneliness, even if it's a little bit? I hope this has made sense to you. I hope that it has encouraged you to know you can do this. You can live life in spite of a disability. You can live life with your spouse, your partner, your child, whoever that other person is that you're giving care to, in spite of that disability. Don't let the disability run your life. Don't let it make it the master of your home. It might be so much in your face. I get that. That disability might be overwhelming. But when you can take those little moments, those little commercial breaks, and go out and do something, I don't necessarily mean physically out, but when you can do something to enhance and brighten your day and bring joy to your life, you need to do that so that you can live your best life. Okay, guys, thanks for coming over, and we'll catch you next week at this time on this mini-series on living with a disability. Thanks so much. If this has been any benefit to you, would you give it a thumbs up? Feel free to subscribe. My daytime morning hour videos are on the more talkative side, some seriouser topics, but then at night I have a whole nother series on building a house and making it a home, everyday living and all the stuff that goes with it. Thanks so much for coming over. We'll catch you all on the next video.